So, guys, in this podcast episode today, we do have a few topics to cover. Obviously, it's Monday. We got our Monday mock draft for you guys. The next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the XFL and kind of my thoughts and my opinions on that. We're going to touch on the Eric Bieniemy situation and kind of what I feel on that. And then we have a few other kind of cliff notes just to briefly discuss. But let's go ahead and get into the mock draft, the second edition of the mock draft. I saw in the last mock draft, some of you guys really liked the way that I did it. So we're going to stick with the first round mock draft, or one round only mock draft, me controlling every single team. And I don't know if you guys, how much you guys pay attention to sports media, like the talk shows and everything like that. But a big topic of discussion recently has been the Bears trading away Justin Fields. Now, in this mock draft, that is what we're going to do. So we're going to play the Justin Fields gets traded away game. And we're kind of going to see what the domino effects would be from that. Now, kind of before I get into it, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe if you guys are enjoying the mock drafts. If you guys are liking what I've been doing, let me know down below. And we'll kind of get into it right now. And if you have any thoughts, just comment it below. All right, so the Bears, already in possession of the first overall pick. Here's what I think about the whole Justin Fields thing, right? I think the Bears like Justin Fields. I don't know if they love Justin Fields, and I think that when you have an asset like the first overall pick, you can get a guy that you love, right? You can get the guy from this draft. Another important thing to remember is that the coach, Matt Eberflus, and the GM, Ryan Poles, did not draft Justin Fields. So, logically speaking, he's not their guy, right? And, I think that the Bears... they could really acquire a lot more assets if they trade away Justin Fields. That's really the goal of every rebuilding team, is to acquire as many assets and good players as you can to help your team get better as quickly as possible, obviously. And I think the Bears are no different. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Justin Fields here for the Bears. Now, I think for the value in terms of Justin Fields, like what is his value? I think his value is definitely at least a first. I mean, he's a young quarterback who many people consider to be good. I think definitely at least a first. I would argue a top 10 pick this year, a first round pick next year, and then probably a decent player, like a starter caliber player. The reason I say that is because not that I think Justin Fields is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's young and he's uber talented and he's not getting paid nothing. So the cap hit is very low. The age is very good. So you're really paying for the future of Justin Fields. So looking at kind of the top teams, the Texans could definitely trade for Justin Fields. The Cardinals probably not because they still don't know what's going on with Kyler. The Colts definitely could. I think the Seahawks are a sleeper team, and the Lions not going to trade in division. The Raiders would want to, the Falcons would want to, the Panthers would want to, not the Eagles, obviously. But I think a team that is kind of, how I say, underutilized and underappreciated in terms of their trade prowess would be the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to go over here to the Seattle Seahawks at pick number 5. And keep in mind that the Seahawks have 2 picks, right? They have pick 20 and they have pick 5. So if I'm Seattle, I'm going to give up pick 5, which we got from Denver, trading away Russell Wilson. I'm going to give up a next year first round pick. And I'm going to give up a interior offensive line. Interior offensive line, because the Bears need, they need offensive linemen. So I'm not going to give up either of my rookie tackles, but I'd give them a Damian Lewis, a younger guy, in order for Justin Fields. So I'm going to go ahead and make that trade. Boom. So now the Seahawks have their quarterback, assuming Geno Smith leaves in free agency. The Bears have now the 5th pick, a next year one, and they have Damian Lewis. So they're on the clock at first overall. So now, logically speaking, the Bears no longer have a starting quarterback. What do? You take one at number 1. You get yourself Bryce Young. The Bears land themselves Bryce Young with the first overall pick, solidifying himself in Chicago as QB1. He's going to be thrown right into the fire. He's going to be cheap. Hopefully the Bears are able to get him some weapons in free agency and in the draft and everything like that. But for right now, Bryce Young, welcome to the Windy City. In terms of number 2, in my last mock draft, I made an emphasis on talking about how the Texans' new coach, DeMeco Ryans, is a defensive-oriented guy. He's going to want to take defense. He's going to want to take Jalen Carter, yada, yada, yada. I'm switching my thought process a little bit. I think DeMeco Ryans understands that you have to have a good quarterback to win in this league. And I think that his philosophy is going to be that he wants to build around a young quarterback and build a team around the young quarterback to succeed. I think Will Levis is really rising up the draft boards. I think that his stock has been on the rise. And I think if he throws well at his pro day and his combine, his stock could be, the best or the second best quarterback in this draft. So I like Will Levis going to the Texans at number 2. Number 3, the Arizona Cardinals recently hiring Jonathan Gannon, the former Eagles defensive coordinator. What made the Eagles defense so good? It was their defensive line. It was Fletcher Cox. It was Javon Hargraves. It was Hassan Reddick. It was Robert Quinn. It was Brandon Graham. All of those guys. So if you're sitting here at 3 and you're Jonathan Gannon, you're not going to take a quarterback because the whole Kyler thing, right? You're going to take Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman, the best defensive tackle in this draft by a mile. And you're going to have yourself a good day. You're going to build that defense around that defensive line. And for the Cardinals, you're going to try to build back which was once a respectable defense, right? You got Budda Baker. You'll now have Jalen Carter. And Byron Murphy, I think, is a solid corner, but he's going to have to rebuild that defense. The Cardinals' defense was one of the worst defenses I can remember last year, so they were bad. For the Colts, Jim Irsay, probably pissed off he didn't get Bryce Young because he's already talked about him, but that does not change the fact that he wants a quarterback for his new coach, Shane Steichen. We saw the work. Yeah, I can't talk. We saw the work that Shane did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, so I'm sure he's going to be getting a new quarterback to play with as in a rookie. And that rookie's going to be C.J. Stroud. The Colts are going to want C.J. Stroud from The Ohio State University. He's been solid. I think we definitely can see three quarterbacks in the top 4 or 5 picks. But now if you're the Chicago Bears, you're sitting at number 5, and you know what? You need an edge rusher. And coincidentally, the same school that you took the guy number 1 overall one, Will Anderson, edge from Alabama, makes a lot of sense for the Bears. The Bears in this scenario would get 2 very high impact players at quarterback and edge rusher, in my opinion, the 2 most important positions in the NFL. And they're having themselves a good draft so far. Now, in terms of the Detroit Lions, Devon Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois here, makes a lot of sense for me. I think the Lions need defense, and they need it badly. They are a team that is on the rise, and a lot of people think that they're going to make a big leap next year. This is actually their pick from the Rams, believe it or not. And they need defensive backs especially. So I'm going to go ahead and take Witherspoon, the guy from Illinois. He really does seem like a Dan Campbell style player to me. He's physical. He will hit. He's not afraid of contact. So to me, that's really reminiscent of what Dan Campbell's philosophy is as the coach of the Lions. Going on to the Raiders. The Raiders need quarterback, offensive line, and defensive back. We're noticing that a lot of teams up in the high point of the draft need quarterbacks. We wonder why, almost like quarterback's the most important position. But we're going to go ahead and take a defensive back for the silver and black. Take Brian Branch. Brian Branch gives me big Jamal Adams vibes. And I say that in a great way because I actually am a Jamal Adams fan. I love what he does. I know a lot of you guys are haters. But I'm going to take Brian Branch to the Raiders. I think that's a good fit for the Raiders to get them some playmakers in the defensive backfield. For the Atlanta Falcons, you need a lot. You need talent all over the field. So I think they like, Tyree Wilson sitting here at number 7. They think that he's going to be a good pass rusher for many years. Already has played in red and black, so the fit to Atlanta seems easy. Go ahead and take Tyree Wilson at number 8 for the Falcons. Now, the Carolina Panthers sitting here at number 9. New head coaching hire, Frank Reich, wants his quarterback, wants his guy. Didn't have that when he was in Indianapolis, and ultimately I believe that was his downfall. And he believes, like I think a lot of people believe, that he can mold and mentor a young, raw quarterback into a stud, into a great quarterback, into a franchise type of guy. Nobody in this draft is more uber talented and more raw than Anthony Richardson. The Carolina Panthers take a big swing for the fences to go with Anthony Richardson here. Okay, now for the Eagles. Now this pick is probably going to piss some people off because I think the position that I'm going to talk about is deemed by many to be undraftable in the top 10. Maybe even I have even people saying that you can't take him in the first round at all. But I think when you're in a unique position like the Philadelphia Eagles, where you just went to the Super Bowl and you lost by only 3 points, you have your franchise quarterback, you have a lot of solid players on defense, you have 2 good wide receivers, you have a great offensive line. I think the one key cog missing into the Eagles' greatness, not greatness, but into their further dominance is a stud running back. I don't really think Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, or Boston Scott are elite running backs. Those guys are fine, and Miles Sanders is a free agent anyway. So I have the Eagles taking Bijan Robinson, number 10 overall. Love that pick for them. But again, you're not going to be just losing a Super Bowl and picking the top 10 more often than not. So I think this is a luxury that they can afford right here. For the Tennessee Titans, they need receivers, tackles, and edge rushers according to PFF. Got to understand the way Mike Vrabel thinks. He's a tough, physical guy. He plays real football. He wants smash mouth, whatever. And additionally, right, Taylor Lewan is likely to get cut by the Titans. He's been very injury prone, unfortunately. He's getting older, and his contract is expensive. So I have the Tennessee Titans taking Paris Johnson Jr. To shore up probably the left side of the offensive line to protect Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill. Honestly, what he's going to be is just run blocking for Derrick Henry, because that's all the Titans offense is anyway. But let's go on to the Houston Texans now. Let's go back and say, okay, we took Will Levis at number 2. Now we need someone for him to throw to at number 12. I think Quentin Johnston's the move. I think Quentin Johnston is a raw, big body wide receiver who can go up and make some catches. Do I think he's perhaps a little bit overrated? Yes. But keep him in Texas. Pair him up with Will Levis, who has nice arm tools. And if you have the coaching staff around those 2 guys to have them reach their potential, I think you got 2 really quality guys in the top 12. So that would be a successful draft right there for the Houston Texans. Coming in at number 13, the New York Jets. My conspiracy theory is that they don't actually end up picking at 13. I think that if their quarterbacks that they like are gone, they either trade down or they use this pick to go ahead and trade for an Aaron Rodgers. But assuming for a second that they sign Derek Carr and they're still going to pick here, I'm going to go ahead and take an offensive tackle. I think Peter and Mekhi Becton would be a great duo at tackle for the New York Jets. And I think that that's what the Jets are going to want to do to make sure that their new quarterback, whoever it is, because God knows it's not going to be Zach Wilson, to make sure that their new quarterback is well protected right there. New England Patriots, I kind of disagree with quarterback being their biggest need. I think they just need talent all over the roster. And let's think about Bill Belichick and what he loves. He loves defense. He loves to play good defense, not turn the ball over, and be smart with their game plans. I like Van Ness right here for the Patriots. I think he just he feels like a Patriot. He feels like a guy that Belichick would want to bring in and want to coach up and get the best of. So I'm going to take Luke Van Ness out of Iowa for the New England Patriots at number 14. At number 15, Green Bay Packers. I kind of think that they need pass rushers more than anything else. I think they need kind of an elite presence up the middle. I know Kenny Clark is still good, but I think if you want to pair a guy with Kenny Clark to rush the passer or stop the run, it would make their defense a lot better. I've said that if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Brian Brisset just feels like a Packer. Like he just feels like a Packer. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and take him if I was the Green Bay Packers right there. Now for the Washington Commanders. Kind of an interesting scenario for Washington Commanders. It says quarterback's their biggest need. Again, I don't agree with that. I think Sam Howell's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy, so that means they're kind of not going to take a quarterback. Maybe next year they draft a quarterback, but you got to let Sam Howell have a year. For the Commanders, De'Aaron Payne, Jonathan Allen are free agents. Who knows what's going on with Chase Young's contract situation, and I think that they're going to want to rebuild the defensive line. So they're going to take Kalijah Kancey, probably didn't say that right, out of Pittsburgh to rebuild and revamp their defensive line right there for the Commanders. In terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need corners. They need defensive backs. They're looking, they see Christian Gonzalez right here at number 10. They like that pick a lot. Christian Gonzalez joins a young core of Steelers playmakers who hopefully are going to be the future of the franchise. Now on to the Detroit Lions at pick number 18. Like I said earlier, their biggest need is defense. I think last year they had some good signs from Aiden Hutchinson, their number 2 overall pick, the pass rusher. What better way to help Aiden Hutchinson than to give him a buddy on the opposite end of the field in Myles Murphy? The Lions really could have 2 back-to-back stud pass rushers and back-to-back drafts, which would be huge for them. That would be awesome. So I think if you're the Lions, then you have to take Myles Murphy there and improve your defense. And, you got 2 guys coming in, a corner and an edge rusher who could really, really improve your defense. That would be great for their team moving forward. Looking at the Buccaneers, man, Buccaneers they're in a sad spot. I am going to say this now, that the Buccaneers are going to be picking 1st overall next year. That's my thought. But in terms of right now, what do we got in terms of their draft pick? They do need quarterbacks, tight ends, guards, center. They need offensive linemen in general, pretty much, and then defensive linemen. I kind of feel like Andre Carter, to me, he kind of feels like a Buccaneer. He feels like a guy that would fit really well into Todd Bowles' scheme. And, he's an edge rusher. So I'm going to take Andre Carter here if I'm the Buccaneers. For the Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks, I've said it a million times as well, they're the hardest team to predict drafting-wise. So it says that the team needs our guard, center, defensive line. I think, personally, that they're going to want to go to a corner here to pair up with somebody like Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant. So I am going to have the Seahawks taking Joey Porter Jr., the corner from Penn State. Now, in terms of the Miami, just kidding. They got that shit stripped away. I actually did have a question from one of my friends earlier this week about why there's only 31 picks in this first round, conversely to 32 normally because of the 32 teams. And as you can see, the Dolphins have their pick taken away because of the Tom Brady tampering shit. So, the Los Angeles Chargers are now on the clock at pick 21. They need receivers. Keenan Allen is getting old. Mike Williams is injury prone. Josh Palmer is good, but he's not a number 1 kind of guy. In my opinion, not only do the Chargers need receivers, they need fast receivers who could separate. And I think nobody fits that bill better than my guy Zay Flowers out of Boston College. This would be the 2nd first-round pick from Boston College that the Chargers would have in the last couple of years. Also taking Zion Johnson, the guard, who was very good. I think, if you're the Chargers, you got a new offensive coordinator in there. You have Justin Herbert, who is a stud. You need to improve the vertical passing game. You need some speed. You need some guys who are shifty and can make plays. Zay Flowers fits that bill perfectly, in my opinion. Let's go to pick 22 with the Baltimore Ravens, who also need a wide receiver and who are also going to take a wide receiver with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who many consider to be the best receiver in the class last year. I think he fell off a little bit because he dealt with some injury stuff last year at Ohio State, but I still think he's a really, really solid receiver. The Ravens' downfall in the Lamar Jackson era has been their lack of drafting good quality wide receivers. Now, I think Rashad Bateman can still be really good, but again, he's didn't play much last year. He hasn't taken off yet, right? So the Ravens add a wide receiver to a hopefully very well compensated Lamar Jackson, so he can have Rashad and Jackson Smith and Jigba both sides. Minnesota Vikings defense is their calling card here. I have them going with Deonte Banks, the corner from Maryland. Their best corner last year was old-ass Patrick Peterson. Not something to really hold your head on, unfortunately. Something I think that they will definitely address in the draft is defensive back. And so I think that they go with Deonte Banks. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars, guard, center, and defensive back, respectively. Let's look. We kind of don't got a lot of the guys up there just yet. I think that the Jaguars might want to go with an offensive tackle. I'd say Broderick Jones is probably good. You can even go with, Nolan Smith, the edge from Georgia. But to be completely honest with you, I might go with O'Cyrus Torrence, the guard right here. They do need guard pretty bad. They're going to try to run the ball with Travis Etienne. Speaking of, Florida, the in-state connection just works. O'Cyrus Torrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Giants, in a bit of a predicament here with Saquon and Daniel Jones contracts kind of expiring. But assuming that they keep Daniel Jones and or have any other quarterback, they still need receivers. Jordan Addison, they're sitting at 25. Jordan Addison's still here. Easy pickup to get a good receiver for whoever their quarterback is to throw to. The Dallas Cowboys says they need receiver, defensive line, and linebackers. I don't know about you guys, but to me, I said it with Brian Brisset in terms of the Packers. Michael Mayer just feels like a Cowboy to me. I can't really explain it. I don't know what I'm feeling. He just feels like a Cowboy. He feels like a Jerry Jones kind of guy to me. The Buffalo Bills, guard, center, defensive back. I think one pick that would be really good for the Bills is safety. Now I know they have Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Obviously, they dealt with some injuries last year, and obviously with the Damar Hamlin situation, they were a bit thin at safety last year. So I think taking Antonio Johnson, maybe you can even have him play some slot corner. But I think safety is now a position that the Bills would take. I have them taking Antonio Johnson. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals, their main and only priority should be to protect Joe Burrow. They are about to pay him an absorbent amount of money. La'el Collins didn't really work out last year at right tackle, unfortunately. Jonah Williams, I think, is still kind of ass. So Broderick Jones going number 28 to the Bengals feels like easy money to me. Now the New Orleans Saints at pick 29. What do the Saints need? Everything. They need all the players. They need better coaches. They need more money. They need their players that they have on their roster to not beat people up at the Pro Bowl. But I think the main thing that they need is a quarterback. Obviously, you don't want to go into another year with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. No disrespect to those guys, but they're not very exciting. And I think if you're Dennis Allen, you want to keep your job, I would hope. And you need a quarterback to do so. So I think Tanner McKee is the best option here. Pretty good value-wise, 29 and 29 overall. I think that's pretty good. Now the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 30. Like I said, not very many needs. But assuming that, it says wide receiver. I think they have two really good wide receivers that maybe you can get a third. They say guard and center. I think that's only if Jason Kelce retires. But I guess the rich can always get richer. So if I am the Eagles, I would probably target some more defensive line, just because my defensive line is getting a little old. And they might be retiring soon, like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox and everything like that. And Robert Quinn is obviously not in his prime. I might go Nolan Smith. I think that's a good pick for a Super Bowl contending team. Maybe he can rotate in the defensive line for a while before he kind of gets starting caliber reps. And then, of course, he could be the guy in Philly in a few years. The Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that they're going to take a D lineman, because who knows what's going to happen with Chris Jones and Frank Clark. They need to keep their defense. They need to get the pressure on their defense, because if there's one thing with the Chiefs, their defense always makes plays, right? So I am going to go ahead and take Will McDonald right here for the Kansas City Chiefs. That is my mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I should make more trades, if I should do a no-trade draft. What do you guys think? Make sure to comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next episode.